Hey guys, I'm back with another video and I wanted to talk about how I started my travel journey and what it takes to be a solo traveler. How I got started traveling. So before I had even gone anywhere by myself, I received a lot of negative feedback and comments from friends and family concerned about my safety, places I was going, places they hadn't even been before, and they weren't sure if I would be able to do it by myself. Basically, I actually grew up very dependent on my family, especially. I went to college an hour away from home just so I could come home on the weekends, and I didn't know how to do a lot of things for myself. I even went to community college for 2 years before I went to university, and so I used that time to kind of teach myself some life skills that I desperately needed. And when I first started working during college, I told myself to just jump in and kind of do the difficult things first, get them over with, and that actually helped a lot. And I grew up with social anxiety. I still have it. I'm working through it. But it was tough for me to make new friends, to talk to people, to like embrace new situations and get out of my comfort zone. But I knew that traveling was something that I really wanted to do, and even my high school graduation cap said, if you need me, I'll be traveling the world. So growing up watching Samantha Brown, Anthony Bourdain, and The Amazing Race on weekends really influenced how I wanted to spend my 20s, and I knew that even if I couldn't find people to go with me, I still had to go and see these destinations. So the first big step in this would be my plan to study abroad, and I didn't even do a semester. I did a 3-week language study abroad course to learn Spanish in Barcelona. And this was a big deal because I would have a roommate that I would have to stay with, somebody I hadn't met before, and I would be living in a homestay situation. So with a local in Barcelona who doesn't speak any English, or she's not supposed to. And that was terrifying. And so I actually reached out to my roommate once we had been paired and I said, hey, would you be willing to go to Portugal beforehand? We can check 2 countries off our list instead of 1. And she was totally down for it. We became really close friends, and now she always puts up with my crazy travel ideas. But I knew I kind of wanted to push myself even beyond that. And so at the end of the 3 weeks, I had set aside a couple days to travel solo in New York for the first time. So I had previously been to New York one other time, and I kind of knew the area. I knew how to get around on the public transportation systems, knew which areas to avoid, but I did a lot of research beforehand, and I knew what I wanted to go back and visit this time specifically. So I made like an itinerary of what I wanted to see on each day, set aside a couple events that I wanted to go to, and I planned to stay in a hostel to save money because at the end of 3 weeks studying abroad, I was basically broke. But I had no idea how to navigate hostels. I had never stayed in one before. This would be my first time. I had heard about it, through friends who had traveled or backpacked in Europe before. So I knew it was an option, and it would be a great way to meet other people and kind of get to see more of the place that I wanted to. I was basically terrified of the idea of having 3 strangers staying in the same room with me, some who might not even speak English, but I would always choose the female-only rooms just to be more comfortable, and I just feel like they're a safer option when it comes to solo travel as a woman, and I thought that would be a better way to go, and it definitely was. What I will say about this trip is it was totally worth it. I got to see everything that I wanted to, and on my own schedule. I had everything planned out, and I left some room for spontaneity, and it was the best trip that I could have done. But there were a lot of things that I had to get over to enjoy my time there. I had to learn how to navigate the metro system by myself and know whether to go up, down, downtown, west, east. It was all new to me, and I also had to spend some time eating alone in restaurants, which is something I hadn't done before, so I had to push myself past that boundary. But everyone that I talked to was very friendly and helpful, so that was not a problem. It's just getting past that feeling that people are staring at you or that you're uncomfortable in some way. But it just comes down to making the most of your experience. It's your time. You can do what you want with it. So I just can't recommend solo traveling enough. I think everyone needs to travel solo at least once in their lifetime. Basically for 3 different reasons. Firstly, the people. You meet people from all different walks of life that you never would have crossed paths with otherwise, and it's just incredible to see how they live in their different cultures or situations that you never would have seen before outside of the media. So, and that's number 2 would be the places you get to see. So half the places that I've been to solo I wouldn't have been able to see otherwise, and I'm super grateful for those experiences and getting to travel in that way. I knew that I wanted to travel while I was young and able, and I didn't want to live with the regret that I hadn't seen the places that I wanted to see when I was older. So if that means going by myself, I'm gonna do it. The third thing is the food that you get to try from all the different places. There are so many dishes that I never would have tried if people hadn't introduced me to them or hadn't gone into a locals restaurant to sample some new cuisine. And there are a few places that I would sell my kidney for to try again for the first time. Basically, what I'm trying to say is do it. Do the solo trip. Plan it all out, have the best time, live life by your own schedule. You get to do whatever you want. And here are some tips on how to get started. Start with a place that's familiar, whether you've been there before and you just want to see more of that area, or you've been there plenty of times and you're just trying it out for yourself for the first time. It's always best to have, some knowledge of where you're going and the areas that are safe, what areas aren't. That way you're still getting out of your comfort zone, embracing new experiences, but you're doing it within a reasonable level, which is good. Another option, and my personal favorite option, is to go with a group travel company. So I always use EF Ultimate Break. I'm an ambassador for them and I love their trips so much. I usually go solo, unless I'm traveling with friends that I've met on previous trips, but you meet so many people on these trips and they're usually traveling solo too. So we're all like-minded and we're open to new experiences, meeting new people, and it just really helps you get out of your comfort zone in a destination that you're really hoping to see. So I've done Belize, I've done Iceland, Colombia, and I just got back from Croatia, which was incredible. So I'll link those vlogs below if you want to check them out. But the best part about group travel is that everything is really taken care of for you, like including the flights, the transportation between the cities, the destinations. If you're staying within a single country, you can, all the flights are organized. You have breakfast organized and sometimes even lunches. On our cruise Croatia trip, we had most of our lunches included, which was incredible. You also get a couple dinners, so the welcome dinner and the farewell dinner are included. And you basically just show up and have a good time, and they take care of everything else. So your tour director is there to answer any questions if you have them, and it's a great way to travel solo, in my opinion. There are a few destinations that I recommend over others when you're first starting to solo travel. So Scandinavia in general is perfect for solo traveling. It's usually incredibly safe. The people are super friendly. They speak great English, and it's a great way to get your foot in the door. So I would say Iceland is incredible if you can make it there. It's one of the safest places in the world, and it was very easy to travel alone. I could walk the streets at night and I didn't really have to worry about anybody, so that was great. But also Denmark is really, really great. I loved Copenhagen to travel by myself for the first time. I spent an afternoon there in between my flights, and it was the perfect opportunity to kind of get to know a city by myself. So really enjoyed that. I would also say the UK is great, especially Scotland. Those people are incredibly friendly and helpful. But London as well is a huge city that you could see all by yourself. If you like to plan different days, different itineraries, you can see each neighborhood of the city within a couple days. And they have a lot of museums there are free. And that's a great way to spend your time when you're traveling solo. And I think they're great to see when you're visiting a new city. I'd also recommend Japan. I haven't been here myself, but I've heard great things about it. The transportation system is incredibly punctual and safe, quiet, which is nice. And the people kind of stick to themselves. It's very safe at night walking around. You shouldn't have any trouble as a solo female traveler. And this was another place I'd highly recommend. Additionally, in Central America, I would say Costa Rica is a great option. I'd say it's pretty commercialized now. There's a lot of tourism that they've built up over the years, so they know how to help people get around. The people are usually very friendly and speak English, and I would also recommend. But other than that, if you really have a destination in mind, I'd say do your research. Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, and especially TikTok now are great ways to find out about local areas, what's safe, what isn't. I love to watch vlogs before I travel so I can get more information on the area, kind of figure out where I want to go, where I want to avoid. And it kind of gives me insight into how things run in that destination, so how the public transportation works, how to get to and from the airport, which is very important. I usually always look this up before I travel somewhere. I can look for restaurants that I want to try and places I want to visit, monuments I'd like to visit, and I always make a note of them and create either a Google map with an itinerary based on each day, or use Apple Maps to kind of pin places, and that way I can look them up when I'm traveling, just open the map and see what's nearby me, and then I can always jump to one of those if I need to. So speaking of airports, how to navigate the airport by yourself. Show up a little bit earlier than you normally would in case there are any complications of any kind, especially if you're checking a bag, you want to get there early to avoid the lines. And if you can, try and check in online to get your boarding pass. If that's not an option, always show up early to the check-in desk, especially if they need to check your passport. And then if you have extra time, you can always just chill in the lounge areas. You can get some work done. You can grab a snack, grab a meal, and you don't have to worry about missing your flight, which I have done, and it's very traumatic. Stay alert in the airport, kind of keep to yourself, be aware of your surroundings. Don't talk to anybody who looks suspicious. Don't take anything that anybody gives you, and try not to watch anybody's bags unless they are really asking for help. I usually try to be as prepared as possible. I have my liquids ready to go, my camera equipment, my laptop ready to take out of the bag, just so I can move through security as seamlessly as possible, and I don't have to worry about getting stopped or talking to anyone else who may interrupt my journey time. Try to keep the things that are most important to you, like your passport, your wallet, your phone, in a fanny pack or something that you can hold close to you so that it's right there when you need it and no one else can access it besides you easily. I find that helps so much with me keeping my sanity when I'm traveling through the airport, and then I don't have to worry about where my things are, and I'm not struggling to get them out of my backpack or out of my suitcase. Where to sit on the plane. So I normally sit in an aisle seat, especially if it's a long flight. That way I can't get sandwiched in the window. I can make a quick exit if I need to. I don't have to get over people to use the bathroom. I can talk to the stewardess if I need to. It's just the best option in my opinion. And I always try and book my seats ahead of time unless it's a short flight, I know the area, but otherwise I think this is the best way to go. After you arrive in your destination, plan how you're going to get from the airport to your accommodation. So I recommend downloading Uber or the local equivalent, which is usually like Bolt, Free Now, other taxi services, I'm not sure, but don't ever take a taxi if you can help it, because they will usually try and rip you off, scam you, or they're not as safe as where you can check the license plate of the vehicle that's pulling up for you and confirm the names. Along those lines, tell your location to at least one other person when you're traveling. I like to use the Find My Friends app for iPhone. My parents are usually tracking me. I have a couple friends who can see my location in case I get in trouble, and so I can talk to who's ever up at that time. There are also apps that you can download where I know if you press a button, it sends an emergency text or notification to someone else who can maybe help you out. So I definitely recommend telling a trusted contact where you'll be, just for their peace of mind and yours. Other than that, to everyone else, lie. So trust your gut. Never tell anyone your travel plans unless you're in a situation where you're with a bunch of travelers who are also traveling solo and you can trust their intentions. I would not tell anybody that you're traveling solo. And men love to ask, hey, are you traveling by yourself? To which I always respond, no, I have somebody waiting for me back at the apartment, back at the Airbnb, or something along those lines. And your RBF will be your best friend in this case. It's just better to be safe than sorry, especially when you're first learning to travel solo. Sometimes I skip events or going out if I feel like I won't know a lot of people there, or I'm uncertain about how to get home, or if I have too much anxiety about the situation, I just avoid it altogether. I'd rather be safe and stay comfortable. Also try and blend in with the locals where you travel. So depending on the destination, this can be very helpful. You don't want to put a target on your back of any kind. So typically in like European cities, they usually dress in like black and white or very neutral tones. I would suggest sticking to that color scheme. Don't have backpacks that are too bright or easily accessible by pickpockets, anything that would get you caught, or in a sticky situation. Learning a few words and phrases of the local language can also help you a lot to get by, especially if you're talking to like wait staff and want to make it easy for them and easy for you as well. So I found this is very helpful, especially if I'm traveling in new countries. I can kind of talk to the locals and figure out places that are good to go or places to avoid, and that way I'm feeling better about where I'm staying. You can also try and plan out some events or things you want to see, a small itinerary of things to do, so that way you have something that will get you out of the accommodation every day, because sometimes you can get trapped and you want to feel safe, so you stay inside, but there are so many things to see, things to do, so it's better to have something that'll get you up and out early in the morning. That way you can start your day and have more things to see. On a different note, leave some room for spontaneity. You never know who you will meet on these trips, and they could lead you to some really cool places, some really fun experiences. So always keep an open mind, but be reserved, be alert, watch your back, because nobody else is going to do it for you. So like I mentioned before, I like to save places beforehand, and I'll do my research by looking at social media or people I know who have visited that destination recently. I try not to trust people who say the destination is dangerous because maybe they haven't been there and they're just relying on what they've seen on the media, and that's never accurate. So trust your judgment, ask people who are local to the area or friends and family that you know who have visited, and that way you can get a better idea about where you're traveling. But you can see on social media like what events are coming up in those areas. Sometimes there's like music festivals in the summer. We just got back from Croatia and we went to Ultra, which was happening while we were there. So that was really fun and something I wouldn't have done otherwise if I didn't meet a couple people on my trip and ask them if they wanted to go. So that was really cool. I love to use Get Your Guide when I'm traveling to see what fun experiences are around the area. And so that we did a West Coast Ibiza cruise, and we stopped in different coves throughout the day, and we had some sangria, and it was the perfect way to end the day as we watched the sunset pulling back into the harbor. So There's some really fun experiences out there that you can try on this app, and I love to check them out before or when I'm planning a trip. Other than that, I think solo travel is an option for anybody. It's become a lot more accessible nowadays, and especially with public transportation in the areas that you're visiting, it's a lot easier to get around. And there's more people solo traveling than ever before. So you can always check out Facebook groups too. There's even people who will post their travel plans and ask if you want to come with them, and maybe you can meet some lifelong friends that way, but always be cautious, kind of do your research before you say yes to these things. But I think they're a great way to connect with other solo travelers and get their knowledge about places they've visited. You can always ask them questions and check out their social media to see different places. I like to post stories on my Instagram of where I'm visiting on each day so people can have some example itineraries. But while I'm on that note, never post your story location on the day that you're there. Always save it for after you've left that location, just so no one can follow you, track you down, and that way you don't have to worry about your safety. But yeah, other than that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them in the comments. I've been to like 8 countries, I think, by myself. And even when you're traveling by yourself, you're never solo. You can meet up with friends or other solo travelers along the way, and it's the best way to see a new destination, in my opinion. But yeah, hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, like I said, leave them below. I'll link some of my previous travels. And if you found this video helpful, it would be great if you liked it. And if you want to see more, you can always subscribe to my channel, and I'll be posting new videos every Friday. So thanks for watching. See you next time.